No matter how much I try to build a good relationship with Emily, she always speaks rudely to me and acts sarcastically. When my husband and I eagerly went to Sophie's 5th birthday party, the cake and meal Emily prepared were only for 3 people. "Emily, what about our meal?" "There's only enough for the family." "What?" "I don't have food for stingy people." She waved the gift envelope I had just given her. "Giving $1,000 for your granddaughter's celebration. Are you kidding?" My dad gave her $1,000. At least $2,000 is the norm. I thought it was a standard amount. I've had enough. Can we cut ties after today? Emily said this with a beaming smile. My parents are enough for me. We don't need you guys. In fact, you're in the way. My husband Dan and I looked at each other. Shall we go home? Yeah, I clenched my fist. No more patience. I'll make her regret ruining Sophie's birthday and treating us badly. I'm Barbara, a 60-year-old housewife living with my husband, Dan. I work part-time at a restaurant. Since our eldest son, Mike, landed a job at a big corporation, we felt a weight lifted off our shoulders. On weekends, Dan and I enjoy going to movies and traveling just the two of us. Dan is kind and Mike is considerate and serious. I felt blessed but secretly worried about Mike not showing any interest in marriage, even in his late 20s. I wanted to be called grandma someday, but I understood that many young people nowadays choose not to marry. Just when I was about to give up, Mike brought his fiancée home. She was Emily, the daughter of a well-known local business family. They met at a cafe near Mike's workplace. Emily, not keen on office work, was working there part-time for social experience, as her cousin would take over her father's business. She seemed like a beautiful and capable woman, the kind to take the lead with Mike. After they got married, they had a daughter, Sophie. The next year, living in an apartment in the same city. They visit us during holidays, bringing Sophie along. Dan and I adored Sophie immensely, and Emily seemed happy to see this. But our initially good relationship with Emily started to crack, beginning with her requests. As usual, the family came to visit. Taking advantage of Dan and Mike going shopping, Emily confided in me. Sophie has sensitive skin, so we have to be careful with clothes. Good quality ones are pretty expensive. Was she hinting for me to buy baby clothes? I wondered. Mike earns well above the average salary for men in their 30s. If he knew she wanted to buy clothes for Sophie, he'd surely agree without a second thought. Maybe they're saving for the future and don't want to spend from the household budget. Also, I thought her family was wealthier than ours, but maybe it's hard to ask her parents for money. Speaker 1. Emily, do you want some clothes? Hesitantly, I asked and Emily's face lit up instantly. Yes, I love this brand. It's so cute. Famous actresses often dress their kids in it. She showed me a picture on her phone, and I was stunned. A short-sleeve t-shirt was $140, a lace dress, $200, and brand logo ballet shoes. An astonishing $2,000. Emily, isn't that a bit extravagant for folks like us? I gently chided, but Emily's eyes flashed as she retorted, Don't you think Sophie's adorable? I don't mind wearing thrift store clothes, but I want my daughter to wear the best. Overwhelmed by her passion, I ended up buying her high-brand clothes and shoes as she begged. I didn't feel comfortable telling Dan, so I kept it to myself. I bought them with my own salary. So it's okay, right? I excused myself internally. After that, I continued to give her clothes and shoes for events like birthdays, Christmas separate from other gifts. But one thing puzzled me. Whenever the clothes arrived, Emily always sent a thank you message, but she never posted a photo of Sophie wearing them. One weekend, while having lunch with a friend, I shared this with her. She thought for a moment, then showed me a flea market website. Is this? I exclaimed in surprise. The same items I gave Emily were listed 2 days after I sent them. The same items you bought for your daughter-in-law. Yes, the spring limited edition, no doubt. And they're unopened. I always shop here for kids' clothes, so I keep an eye on it. This brand is popular, so unopened items sell for a good price. My friend said, frowning, I remember this seller's username. It's unique. They list high-brand items several times a year. Maybe they're selling gifts they received. I felt bitter. This could be a coincidence if it happened just once. But if it keeps happening, it's safe to assume Emily is secretly selling the clothes I send. Or perhaps she's been having me buy them with the intention of selling them all along. As I kept checking the website, I noticed that 2 days after I sent clothes, the same items would always appear listed under the same username. Last Thanksgiving, when I visited my eldest son and his wife, I finally told Emily I'm going to stop sending clothes after this time. Why? Emily puffed her cheeks, stands against it, says they're too pricey for kids' clothes. But don't worry, we'll still give toys and gift cards like before, I explained. Having discussed this belatedly with Dan agreed with me. Emily's a stay-at-home mom. She's probably selling the clothes for extra cash. If it's hard to say no, just use my name. Thanks, I'll do that. Sure enough, when I mentioned Dan's name, Emily swallowed her complaint. She's not comfortable with quiet Dan. Fine. But your husband's stingy. She spat out bitterly. But after that, she stopped asking me for kids' clothes. There were other troubling things about Emily's behavior. She's either germophobic or just doesn't like me. Whenever I tried to touch Sophie, she insisted I wash and sanitize my hands. Furthermore, when I visited Emily in Mike's apartment, Emily would follow me around with an alcohol spray in hand, promptly disinfecting any place I touched. Even in these times, sensitive to infections, being treated like a germ was unpleasant. As my distrust of Emily grew, she suddenly called me. Surprised, I answered, and Emily said cheerfully, "We're going to have a birthday party for Sophie. Would you and Dan like to come celebrate with us?" Really? Is that okay? I asked back, surprised. Usually we invite her kindergarten friends, but this year we already celebrated with kids who have birthdays close to hers. So we thought we'd invite you and Dan. How about next Sunday? We're free. Thank you. We'll be there. I was delighted since I usually sent the presents by mail. Is the doll she wanted before okay? For a present. Or should I get a gift card? Could you make it cash this time? Understood. I consulted with Dan and wrapped $1,000, then headed to Mike and Emily's apartment. The following Sunday. In their living room, stylishly decorated with pastel balloons and garlands, stood Sophie, shyly smiling, wearing a pink dress and a ribbon in her hair. "Grandpa, Grandma, thanks for coming to my birthday party," Sophie said, bowing slightly. Dan and I couldn't help but smile warmly. She always looked cute, but today she was like an angel or a fairy. "Thank you for inviting us, turning 5 today. You're a big girl now." "Yeah, I'm a big girl now." Her confident response was adorable. "Mom, Dad, thanks for coming." Mike appeared and Dan and I gasped. It had been months since we last saw him. He looked much thinner and had dark circles under his eyes. "Have you lost weight?" "Busy with work?" Yeah." Mike's vague smile made me uneasy. "Mike, you're keeping up with your health checkups at work, right?" "Yeah, I am." "Oh, sorry. I've got a call from work." He stepped into the hallway, ended the call quickly, and returned. "I gotta go to the office. I'll be back by evening." "Emily, please order dinner for Mom and Dad, too, okay?" As Mike hurriedly left, Emily brought in a pizza and a whole birthday cake to the dining table. "Daddy's gone to work, so let's eat first." she said, cutting the bear-shaped cake into 3 pieces. 3 pieces. I noticed that Emily had set out only 3 plates and sets of cutlery in front of a puzzled Dan and me. Emily transferred the pizza onto plates. "Emily, what about ours?" I asked, confused. "There's only enough for the family. What?" "I don't have food for stingy people," she said, almost singing, waving the envelope I had. "Just handed her a $1,000 gift for your granddaughter's birthday." "Are you kidding?" "My dad gave her $1,000. At least $2,000 is the norm." I thought it was a normal amount. She looked at me and laughed derisively. "Normal? Oh, I guess for people working in small factories or part-time housewives, it's hard to give $1,000. My apologies. Hey." Dan's face changed color, but Emily ignored him and kept talking in a mocking tone. "Well, I knew this family was poor before we got married. The house is shabby, the interior old, and the whole family stingy. It's almost funny how much this is a mismatched marriage. But it's worse than I expected." Anger bubbled up inside me. Mismatched marriage. She was the one who pursued Mike and started their relationship. I shouldn't be treated this way. So I've always been thorough with disinfecting to prevent your poverty germs from spreading to us. It would be terrible if the daughter of a company president and Mike, working at a big corporation, got tainted with poverty. That explains why she was always vigorously wiping her hands with disinfectant wipes until her skin almost peeled. But I've had enough. Can we cut ties after today? Emily said this with a full smile towards Dan and me. Just having my parents is enough. We don't need you guys. In fact, you're in the way. Dan and I exchanged glances. I thought he would be angry, but he seemed more exasperated and detached than anything. "Shall we go home?" "Yeah." As we headed to the entrance, feeling weary, Sophie came running after us, looking confused. "Grandpa, Grandma, are you leaving already?" "I was looking forward to playing with you," Sophie said, tears starting to fall. My heart clenched. I kneeled and hugged her. "I'm sorry, dear. We're leaving today, but we'll come to see you again soon. Be good and listen to your mom and dad. Until then, okay. Okay, I understand." As Dan patted Sophie's head, Emily stood behind him with her arms crossed, glaring at us. Dan and I left Sophie's place with heavy hearts. In the evening, Mike called me when I got home. Sophie's eyes were all swollen. "Seems like she cried a lot after you two left." "Is that so?" "Mom, you left because you had a stomachache, right? It can't be helped." "Did you go to the doctor? It's better now." "Thank you." Mike's kindness warmed my heart. Compared to him, that daughter-in-law. After hanging up, I felt a surge of anger and clenched my fists. Emily probably doesn't care that Sophie was sobbing because she drove us away. No more patience. I'll make her regret treating us badly and ruining Sophie's birthday.